Thank you so much for introducing me. Everyone, thanks so much for joining the call tonight. My name is Christopher Scott. I have the pleasure of being the coalition's director to VP Harris. I have had that role since January. So, as you can imagine, it has been quite the journey this year. But I am just blown away by the enthusiasm that I've seen over the past few weeks. When you talk about being able to unite, when you talk about being able to energize your base, you have seen that front and center with what VP Harris and now Governor Walz are bringing to the American people on the trail. But let's talk about why we're here tonight. We are here because we wanted to be very intentional when it came to coalition building. A lot of times when we have the conversation of Black engagement, too often I've seen in my career where the diaspora of the entire African, all the countries constantly gets left behind, whether or not it's been in Houston, whether or not it's been in Ohio. It always takes intentionality to organize. But what I've come to see is that when you organize within the diaspora, there is so much power there and being able to get everybody united behind a candidate that is not new to the fight, but is true to the fight, that doesn't just provide lip service, but actually provides real work towards progress. And that's what VP Harris has done all along. As vice president in the Biden administration. When we're talking about housing, the fact that the Biden Harris administration has introduced more than 3 million new Black homeowners across the nation, offering $25,000 as a down payment if somebody is buying a home for the first time. That's transformational. When you talk about the closing the wealth gap that we know affects Black Americans more than anybody, the fact that it is the lowest that it has been in 20 years, that we have seen Black wealth go up by 60% since the Biden Harris administration. That is VP Harris going to work. And then when we talk about actually intentionally engaging in U.S. and African relations, this administration has not shied away from that, but VP Harris in particular, in announcing the creation of the President's Advisory Council on African Diaspora Engagement. These are things that cannot be overlooked. And again, it requires a certain level of intentionality. And so, first, I just want to thank the organizers of this, NECA, Semhar, Ajwa. Thank you so much for all the work that you all have already done, but all the work that I know everybody on this call, as well as the organizers before, are going to continue to do on this. One of the things that we are looking forward to doing with the Harris Watts campaign is actually hosting a national organizing call early in September with the African diaspora to talk about what we have to get done now. I know a lot of you have had a chance to see the amazing convention. I had the opportunity to be there. And when I say I've never been so awestruck in the room, and that's even having worked on the Obama campaign previously, that room was simply electrifying and you could feel it and people are still buzzing. But if we do not channel all that momentum, all that energy into actual action and make sure that we get out the votes that we know that we need to turn out, then we are doing ourselves a disservice, because you can count on one thing: our opposition is going to be ready to vote no matter what. They have brought into the lie that Donald Trump continues to spew out, and they are ready and willing to do anything. And so we equally have to be willing and ready and willing to take our power and make sure that we take that to the ballot box. And I'll say one other thing on this. Uh, this is about building real partnership here. I know so often when we think about elections, we're used to campaigns just having the dialogue to get the votes, but not continuing on the partnership. And what I can say is VP Harris is firmly committed to being a continued partner, to continue to have the tough conversations that nobody wants to have, but to continue to make inroads in places that we have not made inroads before. And so I will leave it there and turn back over to the organizers. But I just want to thank you all so much again for having me on tonight. And actually, I'll leave you with this one more thing, and it's my story and why I support VP Harris so adamantly. Throughout my career, I've had a pleasure of witnessing the VP from 6 degrees of separation. But it was really 2019 when she took her first run for vice president that I got all in. During that time, I was the executive director for the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus, which is the nation's oldest legislative Black caucus. And I took time off on my vacation time to go campaign for VP Harris in South Carolina, because I believed in the messaging when you talk about for the people, a campaign and a candidate that wants to put the people first, that wants to invest in a middle class. As somebody that grew up in the Midwest, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, that was a message that resonated with me. But what I can say is every day since I have had the pleasure of being her coalitions director this year, I get to witness a woman that is intentional, that is authentic, that takes the time when she goes in the room to actually look you in the eye when you're speaking to her, and when other Americans are speaking with her. She is somebody that you know is going to be a fighter with you. And as she always says, when we fight, we win. But that is exactly what we need you all to do over these next 70 or so days, is fight like hell so we can make sure that we win and build the nation that we know that we actually deserve.
Thank you for that, Chris. We're so excited to hear from you. And before we let you go, I want to share with everyone just how tremendously responsive this campaign has been to African Diaspora Harris and for other African diaspora organizations. We've been working on diaspora organizing, particularly African diaspora organizing, for years. We've been doing this, at least for myself and many of you on this call, since the Obama days. And we've learned after every presidential election cycle that campaigns are really seeing the importance of our constituency and showing up. And 2008 to 2024, what we see is a concerted effort by the Harris Walls campaign to make room and to keep the space wide enough for all of the African diasporas. We've seen this every election. There's a little bit of a different element. I can't tell you how inclusive this feels and how a space has truly been created for African diaspora voices to be in the tent with all of the other voters of all different demographics. And so I think it's a real testament. I think it also is worth sharing. Chris is not only a part of the campaign, but he is from the Vice President's office, and he is the Director for National Coalitions. And what this means is Vice President Harris already has a commitment to working in a coalition framework. And this is part of the business, part of the approach to the work that she, as a leader and as a public officer, sees is the need for coalition building. So we're really, really thankful to have you here with us, Chris. But we also want everyone on the call to see that coalitions aren't just done during elections. They are part and parcel of the work after the election. And we know that Vice President Harris has already had a commitment to coalition work, and we look forward to seeing it continue in its future as the next administration. And so it's tremendous what you're doing, but having you here tonight. And I also want to acknowledge we have some of your colleagues who may also be joining us throughout the evening. And so if it's all right, we'd like to also invite them to speak and join. Chris, would that work?
Yeah, I think we have Trey Baker backstage. Trey Baker is senior advisor to the campaign, works closely with me on making sure that we are doing what we need to do when it comes to Black engagement on this campaign. And I'm going to say, because everybody else is so well put together, and I have a shirt, but it is bluey. My son had his first day of first grade, so I'm having a mix between the work life and the dad life at the same time. Trey?
Thank you so much, Chris. And I just want to commend you, Chris, for the work that you're doing and the different responsibilities that you've taken on, especially the work that you're doing with the African diaspora for Harris Walls. It's phenomenal, and I look forward to continuing to work with you on this. I just want to say good evening to everybody. My name is Trey Baker. I am a senior advisor for the Harris Walls campaign. And I have worked in 2020. I was the national Black engagement director for the campaign and helped to organize so much of what we did for the African diaspora engagements back in 2020. And that's one thing that Simhar pointed out. This has been an ongoing effort. This has been a community that we have worked to try to make sure we bring together. And I want to just commend NECA, Simhar, and Adjua for the work that you've done. This is what's happening throughout the campaign. We have an abundance of enthusiasm and momentum and people who want to be a part of it. But we have to get everybody under one roof. And that's what the organizers have been able to do with African Diaspora for Harris Walls. We had a number of groups that were joining. Everybody was excited. Everybody wanted to raise money. Everybody wanted to organize. But we wanted to bring everybody together. And you guys have done that work, and I appreciate it so much. I won't add much to what Chris said. He did a wonderful job of talking through the campaign, talking about what's happening. But what we saw last week at the convention, what we saw since the very beginning of this iteration of the campaign, is that there is true enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. And the reason that there's true enthusiasm for Kamala Harris is because there's one thread in this campaign that's going to remain true, is that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are fighting for people like you, for people like me, for people like us. And Donald Trump is fighting for himself and for his wealthy friends. And that's the one thing that we want to carry through all of this. And so when you see the organic organization of Black women for Harris, Black men for Harris, you saw the white dudes for Harris, and now you see so many other groups that are bringing this message along, it's because we can see ourselves in this campaign. We can see ourselves in the future with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And so that's how we're going to go forward. So I encourage everybody on this call to do a couple of things. Go to the links for African Diaspora for Harris Walls and find out how you can be involved. Go to KamalaHarris.com and then on KamalaHarris.com, you can get involved further within the campaign. You can help to raise money. You can help to do some organizing, phone bank, all sorts of things. And I would encourage you that even if you aren't in a battleground state, we're going to do a lot of talk about battleground states today. But if you're not in a battleground state, we still need your enthusiasm. We still need you to be there, calling into other states, visiting other states, your communities, your networks. Go into these battleground states. And so the enthusiasm that you have, whether you're in Mississippi or you're in New York or you're in Rhode Island with my good friend Gabe Amo, or you're elsewhere, we're going to need that enthusiasm to push us all the way through this campaign. And so the work has started, and we're going to need every boot on the ground that we possibly can. And so I encourage you to tell a friend as these calls continue to happen. Don't let off the gas in terms of the enthusiasm and a bunch of people jumping on this call. There's going to be important information on these calls every single last time that you come on. And so with that said, I just want to encourage you to keep up the good fight. The campaign is going to bring you as much information as possible. African Diaspora for Harris Walls is going to organize on a number of fronts. So the constituency will be locked into not only the organizing for the campaign, but also some of the policy positions and working through that piece. And so we'll be integrated throughout. Again, this is a relationship that has gone over the course of time, and we've gotten to know folks who are leaders in the African diaspora over the course of time. And so what we want to do is we want to protect the progress that was made. Joe Biden did one of the most patriotic things ever and stepped back so that we all could go forward together in this new campaign. And so we're building off of American Rescue Plan and bipartisan infrastructure law, Inflation Reduction Act, student loan debt forgiveness, all of those things that Kamala Harris was the deciding vote on in the Senate. And so thank you so much for having us on. We look forward to a continuing engagement here. And I look forward to sitting back and watching all the wonderful speakers that y'all have tonight. This is going to be a great call. So as Audra says, sit back, get your tea, or, if you're drinking something a little stronger, drink that too. And enjoy the call tonight. And I look forward to this continued conversation.